The Seattle Sounders' brand new 2025 kit is here. Inspired by two traditional Southern Coast Salish weaving techniques, twilling and twinning. These techniques, passed down through generations, honor the resilience, deep-rooted ties, and creativity that define the cultural fabric of this region. The striking deep blue jersey will be worn by the Sounders for the next 2 seasons to honor the club's deep connection with the Puget Sound and shared responsibility as stewards of the greater Salish Sea watershed. Backing up that commitment, the Seattle Sounders will donate up to $50,000 to benefit community charities around the Puget Sound region. To get your very own Salish Sea kit, visit lobbingscorchers.com/kit. That's lobbingscorchers.com/KIT.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome in to another episode of Lobbing Scorchers Kickoff. I'm Ari. That's Nico. Happy Memorial Day. I hope everyone's having a great holiday so far, and it continues to be a great holiday. But there's no holiday for us here at Lobbing Scorchers. We've got a big show for you here this morning. We're going to be talking about Seattle's 1-0 win over FC Dallas. We're going to be previewing their midweek match against San Diego FC. And we're going to be jumping around the league for reaction on some of the other results that took place in Major League Soccer. Nico, how are you doing on this Memorial Day morning?
Yeah, well, happy Memorial Day weekend, Monday for everybody. Having a good day. Just starting off with maybe a little bit too much rain because it was such a nice weekend. But, I got my coffee on one side. We got a win on the other. It was a good weekend for MLS. There was some fun games out there. It was a little bit of a late night because I like to catch 90 minutes. So cut out the LA Galaxy game, cut a couple of other games. So it was good. It was a good weekend.
Yeah, excited to talk about this game with you and also this San Diego game. Big game, one of the best teams in the league, a team that handled Seattle pretty easily last time they played. So we're going to get into all that. Before we started off, Derek Richards getting us started with a $2 super chat.
Derek, all right, Derek.
Thanks for calling into the post-game live. That was a great call. But let's start with this FC Dallas game. Nico, a 1-0 win that I think it's fair to categorize as an ugly win. So I guess what's your takeaway from the Seattle Sounders winning ugly? Because I think there's two ways you could look at it. You could look at it in a way that they should have been able to handle that FC Dallas team easier with them coming cross country from New York on short rest from an emotional Open Cup game and them historically struggling in Seattle. And you would want to see them jump out to a lead and maybe get more goals than one goal and all that. You could say all that. But you could also look at it like in MLS, you have to win games like that. Sometimes you have to be able to win ugly. And I think you could argue that it's actually the sign of a good team that they were able to win a game like that. How do you see it?
Another sign of a good team is that the opposition just plays you in a deep block, puts you in a chokehold and hope that you never get up. And that's kind of what Dallas tried to do. They just made it difficult for Seattle as the game came along for them to continue to get good opportunities. I think Seattle starts it off well, and I think that the intensity was there, the opportunities was there. I thought it was an encouraging game for Jesus Ferreira. Not the big game that I was hoping for, not the big game that I expected from him, but still, I thought it was extremely encouraging. The positions he was getting into, the areas he was getting into, the chances he created. I thought that finally we were able to see a setup where him and Albert can coexist, and that's encouraging. But when it comes to what you just mentioned, I mean, yes, it was an ugly win. There's no doubt about that. Seattle perhaps could have been a little bit sharper when it came to that final pass, that final decision. I thought maybe they could have taken more advantage of set pieces. But at the end of the day, Dallas was going with a plan. We are coming from a huge road trip. We're tired. We got, another game coming up here midweek. We're just going to play very conservative, and we're not going to give Seattle a lot of space. And as the game went along, they continued to drop deeper and deeper and deeper. And when Seattle wasn't able to capitalize on those opportunities they had early, then the game was just at Dallas's pace, which was not fun soccer, but is soccer that is effective for a team that clearly sees that they're limited, that clearly sees that there's a better team in front of them. And if anything, when it comes to the Seattle Sounders, you have to give them credit for not getting desperate, not allowing certain moments in the game to go the other way. Very easily in those moments when you're getting very comfortable with the ball and you continue to push your line forward and you continue to put numbers forward to try to break down the other team. That's when mishaps happen. That's when a counter can happen, especially with a guy like Henderson Julio, and they were unable to do that. I thought that they did a good job on Farrington, keeping him at bay as well. A guy like Lucho Costa and Petar Musa could have made a difference. Yeah, sure. But I feel like they would have played differently. They would have opened up a little bit more. So the setup was always going to be this, right? I said going into this game that if Petar Musa was not going to be on this game, they were going to play in this 4-4-2 diamond, where at times it can get very defensive when you play in a deep block, and they did that. So all in all, I think that Seattle comes away with a good win, a deserved win, an earned win. I want to make that very clear, regardless of whether it was a PK in the 88th minute or not. It is an earned win because Seattle controlled the game. They controlled the tempo. They were able to keep Dallas from having any chances. Well, maybe there were two. One from Ramiro that Stefan Fry with his 400 game has a great save. And then another one that Abubakar does his best impression of Panama Roman Torres and is up there somewhere and just puts a shot in that I don't even think he knew where that shot was going. He just hits it hard and he hits the post. But aside from those moments, I think Seattle was in complete control. Probably the biggest downfall or the biggest concern is just Yemer Gomez Andrade's injury. That's a tough one. That's a tough break. He had been dealing with some pains and aches, but he's such a competitor. He's such a gladiator. He had been playing just about every minute of every game. He was second in minutes, only behind Christian Roldan, and now he gets hurt. Hopefully, it's not a prolonged injury.
Yeah, I don't fault FC Dallas for employing the tactics that they employed. If I was coaching that team, I probably would have done the same thing. But as the home team, it's your I think there's value, honestly, in playing a team that's sitting in a low block like that and putting all their numbers behind the ball and figuring out how to break them down. That exact thing is something that a lot of teams do when they come to Lumen Field. That was one of the most blatant instances of it that I could think of, but a lot of teams do that. And frankly, this team has struggled to break teams down like that in recent years. And that's a game. I think someone mentioned it to Albert Rusnak after the game, but I think that's a game that last year's team, at least the team at the start of the year, those are the games that ended up as 0-0s and we all came out frustrated. So I'm definitely, I'm not going to wave off a 1-0 win when I was one of the people that was complaining about how they couldn't pull out those wins exactly like that last year. Let's talk about this one from chat, from Scantron 33. Feel like we were bailed out by the penalty. Why am I wrong? So I mean, let's talk about just the concept of a bailout. I don't consider this one a bailout. What I consider a bailout is a game where you get outperformed. The other team outplays you and deserves to win the game, and then you get a fluke penalty like that, and it gives you the win even though you didn't deserve it based on the run of play. I don't think you could argue that FC Dallas deserved to win that game based on the run of play. They, I mean, they almost get the draw right at the end there off that shot from Abubakar. But I mean, that's just an insane shot. Like if he hits that one, I think you tip the cap, and then at that point you can be critical of them not getting the second goal that would have rendered that a moot point. But like when he pulls one out, that would have been a goal of the year candidate if he had hit that. So it's not like that was a super high quality chance that the defense yielded or anything like that. But yeah, to me, it just doesn't fit the category of what I consider a bailout. I consider a bailout again a game where you got outplayed and then won anyway based on like whatever the case may be. In this case, it was a fortuitous penalty, admittedly. But if we're looking at either the underlying numbers or just the eye test from the run of play, I don't think they got bailed out. Do you see that any different?
Absolutely not. I think bailout is a wrong interpretation of what happened. And just by the definition, I would have to disagree. Always opinions are valid, and it's your opinion. That's totally all right. But I do not agree with that take. I would say that they earned that PK. I think that there were several chances where they earned that ability to try to make something happen, make something out of nothing, because Dallas was giving you nothing. When I mentioned set pieces, I mean, that's one thing that you're trying to do is either get a ball into the right runner or perhaps create a PK. And that's what happened here. It's clearly there. The defenders holding Jay Bell. That could have been PK by itself, but he doesn't. I mean, he's holding it by one hand, and I don't know why he just opens up his arm. It's a valid PK. So to me, it's an earned PK. And when you earn a PK and you create that possibility, I can definitely not call it a bailout. And then same thing goes for Albert Rusnak. I mean, I heard a lot of comments about, oh, well, he missed the sitter. Well, look, every player misses sitters. And if there aren't missing any sitters, then they're playing at Man U or Man City or the Bundesliga. I don't know. But this is clearly a player that's very good. And sure, he's going to miss some chances. But getting on top of that penalty marker with the game on the line, essentially, in your home stadium, there's a lot of pressure. It takes a big-time player to put away big-time PKs. If not, ask Ricky Puig and Javier Hernandez and a whole bunch of other players that are dead awful at PKs. Albert Rusnak puts it away. I think that's a earned goal as well.
It's a good point, and I'm glad you brought that up because you know, you always get the PKs don't count crowd. PKs are not a given in the way that I think they get talked about sometimes. Like, yes, it's a situation where the shooter has a huge advantage and should be expected to score, but that adds to the pressure of it, you know? Like, I think a PK is one of the most high pressure moments in any sport. And like when you think about the circumstances of this PK, you have a very frustrating game where you're outplaying the other team, but you haven't scored. The ensuing discourse, if they 0-0'd that game, that's got to be creeping into your mind a little bit when you're walking up to the spot. So that's a high pressure moment where he came through and hit the game winner. The celebration, he was letting it all out there. He threw his jersey into the stands. I was a little confused about that at first, but then when he explained it after the game, Nico, when he was saying it was just pent up frustration about how the game went, I was like, that actually makes sense.
Yeah, man, and I liked it. I love the fact that he was passionate about it. Look, Albert is a very even kill guy. I mean, he's as cool as the other side of the pillow. He's never going to be too high and too low, whether he has great performances in a row or he's in a bit of a rut. He's always going to be even kill. But slowly, and although he'll never admit it because we've asked him multiple times, is this your team? He's playing like this is his team. He's playing at an MVP caliber. And the passion there is just frustration that to those comments, he missed a sitter. The team had a whole bunch of opportunities. They felt like they had the game in control, but without being able to finalize those chances. And when he puts that away, man, it all goes blasting out. And I thought it's great. I love the passion in Albert. I want to see it more. And to me, hey, man, I got to applaud it. What I don't applaud is the fact that Alex and the Sounders have to go and get him another jersey because apparently there's no jerseys on the site, guys. We need to figure that out. If a player wants to throw a jersey, we need to make sure that there are additional jerseys out on field.
Well, so did you catch the full story of what happened?
I did not.
So he threw the jersey into the crowd, and a fan caught it, and like you said, Alex Roldan goes and retrieves it, gets it back to him. There was no replacement jersey, so if the fan had been playing hardball and trying to keep it, I don't know, Rusnak might have had to finish that game out with no jersey. But after the game, he went back over there, gave the jersey to the same fan who caught it, and it turned out that it was one of those fans who was there through the like first time free ticket initiative that they're doing or whatever. So whoever that was got a great memory out of that. I love that he went back over there and gave it to that same fan. That's awesome. That's like one of those you give someone like a moment that they're going to remember forever with that. So that was pretty cool, and it was a fun little byproduct of that whole celly. Kenny is coming in chat with these Christian Roldan stats, so let's shout these out. 100% dribbles, 8 out of 9 long pass and cross, dispossessed 0 times, 13 out of 15 duels won, no fouls. 13 out of 15 duels won. Yeah, I mean, he was man of the match for me. Another just like monstrous game. I think he might have heard like some of the discourse about how his performances early in the season were maybe more uneven than we've come to expect, because I mean, man, like he is I know it would never happen for a player that plays that position to get in the MVP discussion, but I really think he's playing at as high a level in the league as anyone at that position right now.
Yeah, Christian Roldan in the last 2 games has been phenomenal. And, we've always talked about where he's best fit, throughout his career. I think his versatility is what's made him so important for this team. We've talked about him being out wide, and, he led CONCACAF Champions League in that CCL run for the Sounders to win it. He was the assist leader playing on that white side. But now, at this particular time, I've always thought this was his position. Ever since even he was a young guy, I thought that he was going to be Ozzy's replacement. He was going to be the one that kind of held the torch for him moving forward. But because the team has needed him to play so many other places, it's been fine. I've always thought that he had the IQ, he has the motor, he understands the game in a certain way that he could play just about anywhere. But to me, this was always his position. This was where he was going to shine. And although one of the reasons why he liked to play a little bit forward, and he has liked that in the past, is because, when you play center midfield, you do a lot of the dirty work. You don't get the highlights. It's kind of it's a very ungranted position where there's no thankfulness for that position. But he's really come up and been just incredible, right? I mean, it's not just the amount of space that he covers, and it's not just defensively, but offensively he's done a lot. I thought he did well against Dallas. There were times where he was breaking lines with the ball, switches immediately, trying to switch the point of attack. I thought he was very good. So I love the stats. I think that he was phenomenal. Second game in a row. And him and Obed specifically are creating this great duo where they play off of each other. And if Christian is feeling saucy and wants to get a little bit higher, Obed is going to give him that opportunity. He's going to sacrifice his positioning on the field. They're always staggered, and he's going to allow him to cook. And the same thing when Obed Vargas is feeling it, then Christian's going to draw back a little more and let him cook. Although Christian's supposed to be the guy that's deeper on the field, but they just go off each other extremely well.
13 out of 15 duels won. I mean, that is an excellent stat. His ball winning is second to none right now, which that has always been one of his strongest attributes. But I just feel like what he's doing right now with how many extra possession, like how much extra possession he's essentially stealing, and in the areas of the field that he's doing it, it's elevated the level a lot. Scantron has another detail on the Rusnak jersey story. Heard that he also swapped the jersey at halftime, so that is why there wasn't a placement ready. That would explain it. But I think the way that it worked out was actually for the best, with him going back to the fan. I think that really tied the whole thing together. Nico, the next topic I wanted to hit with you is I think what I consider to be the biggest concern around this team right now, which is what they're going to do for this, at least in the short term here at the number 9 position. Danny Musovski. Well, I guess first of all, so Moose misses this game with. Do you know what the injury is, and do you have any concept on the timeline if Moose is going to be able to play midweek, or are they going to have to roll without him again?
Yeah, I have a theory, but they've been very coy about what's really happening. And Brian called it a muscle injury. I think in the injury report it was like hip or something like that. I think that's what they put out there. But he's had some back problems, and that's what me and Jeremiah kind of pressed Brian a little bit about it. He didn't say whether it was a back injury or not. He called it muscular injury. So to me, there is something there. He's been on and off at times where he doesn't have a full week of practice. And this has happened for about a month and a half. So is it chronicle? Is it something that he's kind of dealing with? We've heard of players dealing with pains and aches all the time. So I do think that there's something there. We want to get some clarification from Brian, hopefully this week. But it is something that he's been dealing with. Again, there are times where he specifically is off to a side, kind of doing separate work, and it has to do with this either lower back or hip or something around the area that could be something that concerns people.
To me, it seems pretty unlikely that he's going to play against San Diego. If he does, great. I mean, that's your starter, obviously. But let's talk about what they should do in a situation where they don't have him again. In this game,
there's no should really. There's one option.
I mean, I don't think so. I think there's two options. In this game, against FC Dallas, they started Jesus Ferreira there, which I think that is that is what I would have done. Like, whatever people want to say about how that hasn't looked super great so far this season, I think in this situation where you're down your top 2 strikers, you got to give it a run and see if he can be the guy to fill that role. And to be fair, he called it what he thought was his best performance at that position so far this season. And I agree with that. Like, it looked, I think what you said is accurate, and he and Rusnak look like they're figuring out how to not play the same position a little bit more. He looked like he was playing more as an actual 9 as opposed to like a dual 10 or whatever. And he did almost score twice. He gets the header off the Ryan Kent cross. And then there's that scramble in the box where I still don't know how that's not a goal, but those are at least 2 high quality chances where he looked close to scoring, which I think is at least progress from what we have seen when he's played that position. But then you have Osaze come in later, and he has a breakaway saved where he was offside anyway. But Nico, what I wanted to do is we had national pundit Matthew Doyle, his like Monday rap column dropped this morning, and he had a section on this exact topic. So I was going to share his take, and then we can react to it and see if we agree, disagree. So I'm going to pull that up right now, and I'm just going to read what Matt wrote about this topic, and then we'll give our thoughts. So he hits on the Ymar injury first, but then he says, as for the game itself, another entry to add to the Jesus Ferreira doesn't really work as a number 9 for the Sounders tome that we've been collectively authoring, with both Jordan Morris and Danny Musovski sidelined. With injuries, Ferreira got the nod up top. That marked his only second go as a number 9 since March. And while I think his performance was better than those early struggles, this isn't the time for moral victories. This is a time for goals. Ferreira thus far has provided none. So does Osaze de Rosario, who's been a man among boys at the MLS Next Pro level and who's found chances in his brief run for the first team thus far. Get the start on Wednesday against San Diego, or maybe even when Seattle hosts Minnesota next week on Sunday Night Soccer. And Matt says, I wouldn't bet against it. Ferreira's a good player, but he's clearly more of a playmaker at this point. 7 assists in 1,100 minutes across all competitions, so it's not like he's not productive. And the Sounders have a lot of data that says they function better as a whole when a true number 9 is on the field. To that point, as soon as De Rosario came on in this one with 8 minutes left, he pinned both Dallas center backs back with his box movement, which allowed Seattle to pour more numbers forward, which meant their crosses were all a bit more dangerous, which meant Dallas had more trouble dealing with them, which led eventually to the game's only goal when Osaze Urohide batted away Albert Rusnak's service into the box. Pretty sure this was the first time two Osazes have been on the field together in an MLS game. Rusnak stepped up, potted the PK, and won the game. He's now got 7 goals on the year. So I think what he hits on there with how, Osaze didn't get a goal either, but just in terms of what he brings as a physical presence and how that allows the offense to run a little bit differently than Ferreira at the 9. He at least is presenting the case that Osaze might merit a start there in at least one of these next 2 games. And I'm not against it, Nico. I'm not. I think there is something to what he's saying in that you got a situation where both players are unproven as far as their ability to score from that position for Seattle. But you have 2 guys who bring 2 different things to the position in terms of their presence there. And he's just more of a traditional target striker. So, I mean, it's tough because, do I trust Osaze to be carrying the goal scoring load in MLS games right now? I mean, until we've seen him do that, I can't really say that. But I agree with what Matt was saying as far as how the offense looked after he subbed into the game and what he can bring to the table as a more traditional number 9 than Ferreira. What do you think of that take?
I disagree. I thought that the Sounders were more dangerous in the first half than they were in the second. And I thought they were more dangerous with Ferreira for a large part of that first half than they were at the end of the game, despite the play that he does kind of bring up. That's one. Number 2, Brian Schmetzer has there's been times where he has Osaze and he's rather put Rothrock up top than put Osaze. I think Brian doesn't quite trust him just yet to play the position. He'd rather go with Rothrock. I think that Ferreira, if anything, it's time to make or break. And if we want, as an organization and as a club and as a coaching staff, to have a guy that we could potentially unlock him as the number 9, we got to give him repetition and numbers with this new informed group and with these players that he hasn't had in the past. So build up continuity, allow him to make the mistakes, get it right, figure it out. Again, I thought it was encouraging the positions that he was at. He didn't put it away. I'm not going to deny that. There were moments that he could have been a lot more aggressive on his runs into the box. But to me, it's a work in progress. And I would rather, not just I would rather, me personally, because I would rather try for one more time, specifically against this San Diego squad that's coming up on Wednesday. But the fact that he was brought out in the 66, 67 minute tells me that he will get the start once again on Wednesday. If obviously that line behind him is healthy, right? Pedro's healthy and Rothrock is healthy and everybody's good to go. I think that you'll see Ferreira one more time up top.
What did you think when they made the first subs and they were running they brought Georgie and Rothrock on, and it was like they were running the Rothrock 9 thing for a few minutes before they brought Osaze on? Because for me, I even thought in the moment, I was like, why not just bring Osaze on right now? They must be seeing something in training with this setup with Rothrock playing there where they feel like it can work in a game. They would not be running it if they didn't feel that way. But when they ran that, and it felt like the level didn't change or elevate. And I think it's just kind of tough to run that setup without at least some sort of true 9 or target 9 or just a guy that has experience playing that position. Are you with that idea that they've ran the last couple games at all? Because I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of not.
I don't like it. I don't like it, but Brent's explained it. He wants a guy that is constantly running behind the back line. He likes the fact that Rothrock's going to make runs even when he is, maybe he might not see the space. He's going to force the space. And Brent seems to like that. He understands that if anything, Rothrock's going to give you a lot of keeping the center backs press very deep, making them work. And he seems to like that. And the other thing that comes to my mind whenever I see that happen is they're not seeing something out of Osasa just yet. Whether it's they don't want to put that much pressure on him, which I don't think that's the case. I just feel like there are still things specifically on defense, and we all know that the Sounders, especially Brian Schmetzer, he wants that center striker to press in certain moments and to do certain things. And I thought Ferreira did that well as well in this one. He creates, I think, 2 opportunities on a repress moment. And I think maybe they're not seeing that from Osasa just yet. And therefore, he'd rather have a guy like Rothrock that's going to close down. And whenever they either press on their 4-4-2 or at times when they press with 3, Rothrock can maybe give you a little bit more. And that's why you see those moments. But the reality, and I'm not going to shy away from it, is that there isn't a real solution. There isn't a set guy that you could say, here's my guy. It's supposed to be Danny Masovsky. He's hurt. We know what happened to Jordan. And it goes back to the fact that if you can unlock Pereira, now you're going to have a guy that you can for sure trust. And that's why you are seeing that constant use of him up there. And I think that's why you'll see him again on Wednesday, is because you got to figure it out. And if it doesn't work, then at least you gave him 3 or 4 games to figure it out. Look, Sounders are 5th, and nobody's going to remember if, they get another draw on the weekend because they just came from getting an ugly win. But at least we're getting data of what and where and how we can use Ferreira. And to me, that's worth more than anything, because unless you're really hoping that your starting 9 for Club World Cup is Osase or Rothrock, then you got to try to figure out what's going to happen if Misovsky can't go. I don't see Jordan coming back anytime soon. So having another option, looking at that, a guy that has more experience and is very talented, hopefully you can figure that out.
I think I'm pretty much on that same page as well. I think on Wednesday, what they should and will do is run Ferreira starting there again, and kind of gets to the point that KW made here. Love me some Matthew Doyle, but not always going to agree with him. I think Jesus is a few more reps from showing us he can perform in the 9 role. Caveat is we need Pedro and Ryan on the wings to help create. I agree. I think, like you were saying, Nico, it's worth running it more with the actual first choice guys, which the games in San Diego and St. Louis where Ferreira was playing the number 9 that have scarred people. He was not playing with that full capacity. And also back then he was a lot newer to the team and hadn't had the training reps either. So, I think we saw enough in this FC Dallas game, at least at the start of the game, to where it's definitely worth continuing to run it in the short term here, out of necessity as much as anything else. That's the reality.
And the funny thing about the discourse is that the people that right now are heavily criticizing Ferreira and wanting to pull the plug are the exact same people that wanted Danny Misovsky in a USL team or shipped anywhere that's not Seattle. And those same people are now, where's Danny Misovsky? He's the GOAT. He's got to you can't give Jordan Morris his position back, right? I mean, Mood's got to be your guy. So again, when we go to just hyperbolic takes and we rush into things, that's when things kind of go off a little bit oddly. And when you are a coach and you're an organization that's serious, you got to take and give somebody the time to get adapted. So for me, repetitions of real competitive games is what Ferreira needs. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But you at least give him those minutes where you could honestly say, hey, you had your chance. We figured it out. It didn't work. Now we look for another option.
And I think what you were saying earlier about his pressing and his work rate plays into it as well. I was pleased with how he was providing those other things in the Dallas game, even if it still wasn't as goal dangerous as I would have liked. Brian Schmetzer is certainly taking stuff like that into account. And I think you could be right that maybe Osaze isn't there and providing some of those kind of more well-rounded aspects of the position, which that might not get talked about as much, but it's something that factors into a decision like this. Mason asks, traveling this week and attending my first Sounders game against San Diego, anything I should 100% check out, game related or not? First of all, that's awesome. First Sounders game. It's going to be a good one. It's against one of the best teams in the league. As for anything that you should 100% check out, I think the March to the Match is the first thing that comes to mind. Emerald City supporters do a what's the word? Like a ceremony type walk to the match from Pioneer Square before every home game, and it's a lively scene. They got drums, they're singing, and it's really, you really feel like you're in the heat of Seattle soccer when you're at a March to the Match. And then really, I mean, I think, I don't know, I've basically never gone to a game as a fan, but I think what I would do is just go to Pioneer Square and walk around, see if there's any like cool bars nearby that look like they might be fun, and really, yeah, just kind of take in the whole scene of the area on game day. For this last game, with it being a noon kickoff, I took the bus down to Pioneer Square like well before the game and was doing that and just kind of walking around and taking it in, and it was great. So that would be my recommendation. Nico, do you have anything more like specific than that?
Yeah, I thought that you hit it right on, but I would say get there early. I mean, it's a 5:30 kickoff, and if you go to the main concourse on the first floor, there's always like cool little things. Sometimes there is, like photo opportunities with guys like Brad Evans and Kellen Rowe. Sometimes Roman has been there. There's like little games that you can kind of play. That kind of side of the back entrance. Or well, that is the main entrance, the main parking lot in front of the stadium where the band sets up and things. A lot of good food there as well. So just get there early and enjoy kind of the festivities, like you said, at Pioneer Square, and do the march. And then right in front, in the first floor of the main course, as soon as you walk into the stadium, there's always like cool little things that they have going on there. So I'd say that, and depending on what you like to eat, there's just about everything that you want. You got good steaks there at 13 coins. You got some sushi opportunities there, just good tacos. So the food down there is always good.
I think Derek actually has the right recommendation here, Mason. Go eat a Tots Strami at Tots Delicatessen right by the March, and go to Temple Billiards for your pregame bar. Tots is is it Tots or Tats? I always call it Tots. Tots Delicatessen is a great shout. So I went to Philadelphia for the first time last year, and I one of the things that I was really intent on doing was getting a Philly cheesesteak, because I never had like an authentic one. I was like, I got to go see what this is all about. And I got one, and I was like, oh, wow, I have never had anything like that. That is awesome. So I had never been to Tots, but when I got back, I was looking up where I could find like a West Coast version of that. And it turns out it's an authentic East Coast deli in Pioneer Square. I haven't had the Tots Strami, but the Philly cheesesteak. Have you ever had it, Nico? It's so good.
Yeah. Anybody who likes sandwiches as much as I do knows Tats, and that's a good place. That's a good call. The pastrami is great. It's as close as you get to a New York pastrami sandwich. In Las Bodegas, type of situation on there is really flavorful, really good. And then Temple's also always a good time. That's where you probably will meet the biggest part of your Sounders fan base. So both good shouts, absolutely.
Tots and Temple. That's what I would do.
I dig it.
Let's hit a couple more from chat and then move on to our next topic, Nico. First, another one from KW. So many instances where it's clear Weibel needs to continue to prioritize the striker position in their search for the U22 signing. Nico, have you heard anything as far as if they're going to use this Club World Cup window maybe to get this U22 that they've supposedly been scouting up, or what is the status of that, either in the timeline of them filling that spot or positionally what they're looking for?
Yeah, there's no rush. That's quite honestly the conclusion that I've gotten every time that I've talked to those who handle decision-making at the Sounders organization. They don't want to rush into a player just because you have the 10-day window. Doesn't mean you got to pressure buy or panic buy. the striker position is the top of the priority list. Don't get it twisted. That is absolutely top of the priority. But they're looking at options at midfield. I think that there's a couple of names that I'm not going to share, but there's a couple of very interesting strikers that fit what this team needs of what you just said. Physical, fast, with that ability to hold play, a lot of the target type of striker that you're kind of looking for. But I think that what they're seeing in Osase, at least in terms of overall potential at one point, has made him think that maybe they'll go for more of a Raul Ruiz type, where he is a lot more mobile and he could do a lot of other things, mid-range shot. So the two guys that I'm looking at right now, one is more of a target striker. The other one is more of a, I don't want to call it second striker, that's a bad reference, but it just more of an agile type of striker.
On a scale of 1 to Dejan Joveljic, how do you rate this target striker without naming the name?
That's tough. That is tough.
Is the guy that you could see like making an impact like that early, or is more developmental?
Yes, but both are guys that are going to come in and perform. Both guys have enough matches and minutes that they're already in progress. I mean, there are leagues so I don't name the league. There are a lot of leagues where you start at 16, 17 years old. So this guy's at 20 and 19, I believe. They already have a lot of competitive minutes. So yes, the guys that they're looking for are absolutely proven talents that are going to come in and perform.
You hear that, chat? That's exciting. It's exciting news. Looking at U22s, do you think they're, just real quick, do you think they're going to use this Club World Cup window at all? My question about it is, like, I don't know. It seems like I know every team who's in the Club World Cup has access to this window or whatever. I just, with it this close to it starts in like 2 weeks. Like, are you really going to bring a new guy into the team, get him acclimated, get him like fit and get the chemistry with everyone else in time to actually make an impact in the Club World Cup? I have a hard time seeing that.
That's a fantastic comment because, I continue to see this ridiculous like takes and videos about how this team needs to get a striker for the Club World Cup and they need to go get a 30-year-old Vardy to come to this team or something like that.
Oh, Vardy's pushing 40.
It makes no sense of all these takes that I'm seeing because you don't build your roster to win or do what in Club World Cup. I mean, let's be serious. We're hoping, in every MLS team and most teams in this tournament are hoping to maybe get a surprise win, compete, get their players to have that moment to play against the best of the best that is going to uplift your team level. But nobody's going to plan the year into we're going to go win Club World Cup, because unless the Sounders are going to be able to bring Holland and Lucho Diaz and 3 other players, they're going to have no chance. So it's I don't want to call it dumb. I want to call it naive. It's a naive idea that the whole reason why you want to get a U22 striker is to do something in the Club World Cup. No, that's not the reason. You bring a U22 so he can help you in the playoffs, in Leagues Cup, in the future, just as the guy that's going to be the new Jordan Morris, if you will, once he's, up and gone. That's why you go. You build for the future. You don't build for a tournament that you're very likely, not going to get through the first stage. I mean, it's simple as that.
There's been so much discourse of how, like, they didn't strengthen the roster enough to compete in the.
Come on.
We're talking about PSG, folks. There's no individual signing that you could make. Not one. That would meaningfully change the outlook, your outlook versus teams like PSG or Atletico Madrid. There's just not. You would have like you were saying, like, you would have to sign like 8 guys, I think, to like actually move the needle in that way. And you would have had to do it like way before this to actually have a chance at like getting the team functioning together before the tournament. So that discourse is it's pretty funny. I think naive.
I mean, either Miami has Messi, Busquets, Alba, Luis Suarez, all of the stuff that all these same people would love to have, and they can't even beat Orlando. And what you expect them to go where in the Club World Cup? I mean, come on, guys. There's this concept of like, oh, we have to just have a winning mentality. Yeah, nobody wants to lose a game, and you want your guys to compete, but you got to be a realist and understand that you're kind of out of your zone. And even with that mentality, it's a lot better to play with a chip on your shoulder and get a couple of results, because I've seen it happen in the old format of Club World Cup, whether it was Sao Paulo, Flamengo, or any South American team that played that tournament, and it used to be 3 games and you were in the final. Now that's not the case, so it's a lot harder to go ahead and go win a group stage and then play after that. So it just, the concept of we need to just tell the people that we're going to go win this tournament, to me, it just sounds like you want to be lied to. And I think that's dumb. I really do.
You want to have a winning mentality. Of course, you want to compete in every game you play. You also have to live in reality. Like we live in the in the real world, and there's just I mean, I don't know. There's that discourse has remained funny to me it's been going on all season. Let's hit this one from Jake. If 1-1-1 was good enough from our road trip, what do we need from our 3-game homestand? 2 wins, 1 draw, 0 losses. I think a 2-0-1 would be. I'm not optimal. Obviously, would be 3-0-0, but with the knowledge that you're playing 2 of like the top 3 teams in the West right now over these next 2 games, I would take a 2-0-1. How do you feel about it?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, this San Diego game is going to be probably the toughest one. Although Minnesota, I think that they're a team that understands that way they like to play, and they are tough to break down, and they're very good on the counter. But the Soto San Diego, and they do it a lot better, in my opinion. I mean, you just saw them. I guess they kind of got given up. They got given that equalizer. Garces just kind of it gives them that equalizer, honestly. But San Diego in general is a very good team, and I'll probably take a draw in this one, and then hopefully go and beat Minnesota, who you've owned here at home. So that 2 wins, 1 draw. I think that's minimum of the average. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I would take.
I'll kick one more from chat to you, Nico, and then let's talk about this San Diego game more. Manny asks, what's the point of signing Osaze to first team when the team is planning on signing another player his age to a team that runs 1 striker? So now you are running 4 strikers for 1 position. What do you think of that?
Well, 1 is depth. 2 is that you don't really have 4. You're hoping that Ferreira becomes that, but Ferreira's kind of talent is that you could play him in a lot of other positions. We're talking about getting him accustomed and ready to be your 9 and be a true 9, be a true option, because I don't like the true 9 take. I mean, you could be a striker in many ways. You're still a striker, but more of a target guy, more of a guy that's running this specific system. So you want to get him accustomed to that. But the importance of depth as well means that you could move them around, right? I mean, you're hoping that Vega is healthy all year long, and you're hoping that Rusnak's healthy all year long, but you want to keep those guys. Not to mention, okay, I'm going to give you guys something. Let's just say, and we've been saying this with Jeremiah for a very long time, Pedro Vega is the most asked player when it comes to other teams' interest. It's been since Spain, right? Since the preseason. You want to bring in another guy just in case, what if the right offer came for Pedro? What if somebody said, hey, you know what? I'm going to give you 10 million for Pedro. How about you get 8, 9? What be your number? You got to have a roster that potentially could do that. And that's where maybe you move Ferreira down to the wing and you do other things. So you add another player because, 1, you have a lot of tournaments coming up. You are a team that wants to win every tournament that they're into. With the the Club World Cup, we already talked about that. Not necessarily that, but you want to have a deep team. But you also want to be able to withstand a departure if that was to be the case.
What would your number be for De La Vega? You go, and then I'll give mine.
8.
I was gonna say the same thing. If it like kind of anything over what you paid, I low key think I would do that. As much as I like what I've seen from him at times this season, I don't know if it's like I don't know if he's popped to the point where if you had $8 to $10 million on the table, if I wouldn't take that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think he's been really good, and I thought he was very good against Dallas. He was the one guy that was also, additionally to how good Albert was, I thought that he was the other guy that was pushing, that was moving, that was making things happen. I think that he's starting to really understand the way his teammates play, so he's getting in positions where they aren't typically at. He's great on overlaps. I think that he's done really good, but $8 million, and you have other options there, and maybe that helps you also figure out how you're going to replace Obed when he certainly does go, because he will go, and how do you replace that? So there's a lot of moving components here, and that's why I find it hilarious and amusing when people just kind of talk about switching players like this is a FIFA game or Tactical Manager or whatever it is that people play these days on their phones or PlayStation or whatever, because it doesn't work like that. You got to be thinking always ahead. You got to be thinking, what if this guy goes? What happens with this amount of money? How much money am I really going to be able to use out of this sale? So there's a lot of components of why you would go and get a U22 striker for the future. And although Osase he is very interesting, and he kind of feels like he is going to become a player, you got to bring in somebody else that's also going to be there with him. So that's why you would bring that other U22 striker.
Kenny asks, what's the lowest you'd go for De La Vega? I would say 8, maybe 7.
Yeah, I think 8's the minimum for me. 8 and up. And look, man, the Russi was awful, and he went to River Plate for like 10.
Yeah,
and he was dead awful at the end of his time in Austin. Velasco in Dallas, he did some things, but he was not good, and he's been awful in Argentina. I mean,
I didn't know that.
Hate him, absolutely hate him during Boca. So those are the things that maybe you could. Hey, look at this guy, look at this highlight reel, hey, check it out. And look, I want to keep Pedro here. I really do hope that things work out for him, but I understand the concerns. And if I have concerns, then maybe I get rid of that if I get enough back. So that's why I bring it up.
If Austin FC got $10 million for disgruntled Driussi, who was openly talking about how he didn't want to be on the team anymore, then they should get 20 for De La Vega, who's
there you go.
He might not be producing like fully like a DP right now, but you can at least see the talent and the dynamic ability. Where Driussi, at that point, you hadn't seen that for like 2 years, and he was talking about how he hated his own team and didn't want to play there, and they still got $10 million. That's still one of the most that doesn't get talked about enough. Doesn't get talked about enough how they got $10 million for that guy. Nico, let's talk about San Diego FC a little bit, because this game, it presents a chance at redemption for the Seattle Sounders. We all saw what happened the first time these two teams played in San Diego at Snapdragon Stadium. That was one of Seattle's worst losses of the season. That and the LAFC away game, I think, are the two that come to mind that went off the rails so far this year. And San Diego, at that point, they were kind of this surprise expansion team that was playing a lot better than people thought they would, but it was an open question at that point as to if they could sustain it. They did take a brief little downturn where it wasn't looking as hot, but they've put it back together. And just by the eye test, this is one of the best teams in the league. They play some of the best attacking footy in the league. And Nico, Chucky Lozano, I mean, I don't think he played in that first game. I believe he was out with injury. And now
he might have came on in the second half, maybe.
Yeah, maybe it was like I was right around then where he was coming back, but he had not emerged as the full Chucky yet. I mean, Nico, this guy is one of the most dynamic players in MLS right now. I'd watched him play a fair amount for El Tri over the years, and I was always impressed with him as a player, but kind of getting to watch him more week in, week out. He's pretty electric. In this last game against the LA Galaxy, man, I mean, he scored the game winner, but the play that caught my eye was the one where LA won the ball and was getting back, loose on the counter, and Chucky Lozano is just absolutely busting it. I didn't know he had wheels like that. He looked like DK Metcalf, like running a go route, tracking this guy down, and wins the ball off the guy, and then gets going the other way and draws the foul and draws a yellow card. Like, just a great play. Like, that's what you need from your DPs and your impact players. A play like that, that's not even like technical ability. That's all just like heart and force of will. He plays the game so hard, plays with his hair on fire, and he is going to be a handful to deal with. Like, there's no doubt about it. But I think that's exciting in a way for Seattle to have the chance to match up against a player like this, see if you can stop him. But it's not just Chucky. They hit on Anders Dreyer as well. They've got a couple other these Danish guys who look really good, and really Mikey Varas just has them playing really good, aesthetically pleasing, productive footy. So it's one of Seattle's tougher matchups of the season, no question about it, which is kind of crazy to say because they're an expansion team that's just getting rolling, and I don't think they were predicted to be this good, but they are. What have you seen from San Diego FC this year since they last played Seattle?
Yeah, well, first of all, just for the record, Luke Chucky did play. He actually is the one that puts the third goal right before the half in the 3-0 beatdown that the Sounders got down there.
My bad.
So, yeah, I didn't remember either. I knew that he had been involved, but I didn't know in what way. I just, looking back at just the lineup, I realized that goal right before the second half, it's on a counter. And he just completely sliced right between the center backs and puts it away. So, yes, look, this team is just as good when it comes to their concepts as they were before, just better, sharper, right? So everything that they were doing, right? They're pressing, they're counter. They're a team that's not afraid to hold the ball as well either. They can possess the ball just as well as they can counter you. I think a guy like Godoy has been incredible for this team because he gives them experience, he gives them take, he gives them distribution. He's a guy that's going to get guys going. Dreyer's a guy that on set pieces is going to be unreal. If you go back to that game against Seattle, I'm hoping that we learned our lesson when it comes to restarts. They're a team that is very clever, and they want to take advantage of moments where it's a quick set piece, whether it's a corner or a set piece, they're going to quickly take it. They're going to want to get you off balance. That's the way they run their games, right? Is they have a lot of speed up top, so they want to be able to just, at times, play you very direct, either win that second ball on the repress or just get you off your moment where your lines are at, and then that's where they got guys going behind the line. So Chucky, clearly the most productive player for this team, and it's not just the goals, it's the assists, is the way he breaks down and stretches out defenses. So a very complete team that has a lot of options and that also plays very good defensively when they have to. So not an easy game for Seattle, especially coming off the midweek game. They weren't San Diego wasn't as good as maybe I've seen him in the past in this last LA Galaxy game. Once again, the LA Galaxy are a team that they're just dying to give up games, and in this one it's no different. They score on a very good Fagundes goal, I think in the 38th or something, and then in the 40th, they give up the equalizer immediately against San Diego, and then to make things worse and compound the problems, in the 93rd minute there is a quick ball that Garces could bring down. He could kick to the sidelines. He could do anything with it. He whiffs it and passes it perfectly to the San Diego player, creates the counter, and then Chucky Lozano just puts it away. And if you look back at that specific play, LA Galaxy has 5 guys back there. So it's a 5v3, and still Lozano is able to head that ball in in the second post because everybody runs to the near post and Chukwueze just puts it away. So LA Galaxy probably not the best measurement stick there, but at the same time, San Diego is just that. They're going to force you into mistakes. And if you give them easy goals, they're going to take advantage of them. So Seattle has to be very poised, very controlled. I would like to think that they want to control the tempo of this game as well. But the best way to not lose to a San Diego team is don't shoot yourself in the foot. Do not create mistakes because they will take advantage of them.
Yeah. If I were to make the case that San Diego might be more vulnerable than usual, just for the sake of argument, yes, they are coming off a big win over the Galaxy, but they were fighting for their lives for a lot of that game. The Galaxy had them 1-0, and then, of course, like you said, immediately give up the equalizer. Honestly, I just want to break down that last goal even more because that sequence, I think, was the 2025 LA Galaxy in a nutshell. Let's just set the stage for the situation that they were in right there on that last play where they gave up the game winner. It's 1-1. It's the 93rd minute. You're 10-4. A draw doesn't do that much for you, but if you get a draw there, you just drew LAFC. You can at least hang your hat somewhat on grinding out draws against two of the better teams in the West, including two in-state rivals. You need to see that game out, needless to say. Their left mid, whoever it was, he's in his own end. He's in his own end. All he needs to do is just hold the ball, recycle it, just keep the ball, knock it around. And instead, the whole thing starts when he hits a switch with his off foot for no reason, all the way across to Gabriel Peck. The San Diego guy cuts out the pass and kind of clears it way up in the air. And it goes down to Amiro Garces, who there's no one around him. There's not. Like, he's literally all alone. All he has to do is either head it the other direction or chest it down, control the ball, knock it back to the goalkeeper, or clear it. Like, there's so many options of what he had to do in that situation with no pressure on him. Instead, what he does is flail at it and hit a back pass directly to the San Diego guy. And
I think it's Dreyer.
Yeah, to Dreyer. And you do have to credit San Diego absolutely for capitalizing on that. And I think, like you said, that's like some of the giveaways that Seattle's been committing lately against a team like FC Dallas. You can maybe get away with that in that situation against FC Dallas at home. You're not going to be able to get away with that kind of thing against this team. This team will punish you for that. But the LA Galaxy, God love them. I mean, you couldn't have, if they were trying to gift San Diego the game winner, like that's what they would have done. So it was a good win for San Diego, definitely not taking away anything from that. And they are one of the best teams in the league. And one of the reasons they're one of the best teams in the league is because when they get opportunities like that, they capitalize on it and they punish you. But it was a very hard fought competitive game at home against an LA Galaxy team that's the worst team in the league right now. So,
And to your point, I mean, in the 88th minute, Marco Royce has two chances in front of goal in the same play. One is the back pass to him, which he whiffs completely, and then somehow it ricochets back, and he can still not put it away. He puts it over the top of the post. So that's the LA Galaxy in a nutshell, right? Missed opportunities. Their DPs not playing at a DP level. The young guys not playing at their potential, and a team that defensively is a mess. Garces might be the player that I've seen digress the most from year one to year two, because he was a baller last season in this MLS winning team. And then all of a sudden, he can't do anything right. This is not the first mistake of the season. He might have four opportunities. Yeah,
that exact thing, but stuff like that has happened to him. It happens to him every week. I think he's just cursed right now. I don't think he's this bad of a player. Like you said, he was good last year. I think it's like he's got the yips right now. Like I just can't explain. If you haven't seen that play, you got to go look it up because it is. I mean, for me, it was funny. If I was an LA Galaxy fan, which I'm not, it wouldn't be funny. But it's good Lord, man. Like, can you see out a 1-1, boys? Jesus Christ.
But going back to San Diego, though, I mean, this is the team. Their midfield is very balanced. We talked about Godoy, right? Travis Koff, I believe he's Danish. This dude is
so
unreal.
Good. He's so good. Underrated, like the key to their team. Other than
fundamentally so sound, so secure, great on the ball, hard to dispossess, doesn't make bad passes. And then you got De La Torre, who's been a baller as well. I mean, he's the one that gets that first goal for San Diego. His movement on the ball. San Diego's always that third pass. You always got a good runner. When they make the triangles, the third pass, there's always a runner, and that's the way they beat down this LA Galaxy team, because the fluidity of this team is unreal when it comes to either transition moments or just possession play. The way they move the ball is so efficient that you have to know where everybody's at. You got to be accounted for everybody, because the way Dreyer moves side to side, because he plays as their 9, but obviously he is a false 9. He'll move around, he'll shift, he'll switch. Sometimes Lozano will be that guy that has that run into the 18. I mean, they do so many things well that you got to account for where everybody's at all times.
What double pivot would you take? Seattle's Christian Obed or San Diego's De La Torre Sarkov?
Oof. I'll go with our guys, although last time they were ran over. This exact same midfield completely destroyed our pivots. But I would take our guys just in terms of what Vargas can do, what he's up most potential, and the way and form that Christian Roldan is currently in, which was not that of, I don't know, 4 weeks ago when we played them.
Exactly. I think if there's hope in this game that the performance will be better, it's that the double pivot specifically. I think that San Diego game was the worst that it's ever looked, and it's looked pretty excellent since then. So they'll need to keep that rolling. But assuming that they can maintain their current form of these last few weeks, I think it'll be a good matchup. I mean, I think this might be the two best midfields in the West, right? I guess you got to put the Whitecaps in there. Obviously, they have the best out of.
Yeah,
but
they just did it again against RSL. That's unreal.
Yeah,
they were down 2-0 in the 4th minute.
Yeah,
and Vancouver was still able to be composed. Be Vancouver. White gets you 1. There's a PK, he gets you 2, and then Pedro Vite just puts the 3rd goal in a gorgeous shot from outside the 18. That's just Vancouver ball, baby. They're in every single game.
Team of destiny, man. Like that Pedro Vite game winner. Like it's like you just almost like knew it was coming. Like that's the level that they're on right now. It's crazy. There's just like such a big separation right now, I think, between them and like the next tier in the West. They continue to be incredible. Let's segue that into talking about around the league a little bit more. But before we do that, why don't we hit this one? Another from KW. Realistic starting 11 for Wednesday. I think it's worth going over that because of the Ymar injury and the debate over what they're going to do at the number 9. So I guess, Nico, let's start with the back line. Who do you think the CBs are going to be in this game with Ymar out? Do you have any read on if Jackson Reagan will be ready to play any minutes? Or I mean, I imagine it's going to be Kim Ki-hee, John Bell.
It is going to be Kim Ki-hee, John Bell. Although Jackson is ready and he actually felt fit to play this game. You need game rhythm. You need some minutes. So I would expect him to perhaps come in this game late in the game and get him some competitive minutes. But I would expect it to be Jay Bell and Kim Ki-hee. I wouldn't be surprised actually if they went back to their 3-man back line, perhaps. I don't love it, but I'm guessing that Brian Kemp would not play this game, or at least will not start it. So I could see a couple of changes in that sense.
Yeah, so I think you're looking at Steph Fry, Alex Roldan and Nuhu with John Bell, Kim Ki-hee centrally, Christian Obed, double pivot. How do you think they're going to line up the front four, having just played on Saturday?
Like I said, I don't know if Ryan Kent's going to play this one, so I would think Paul Rockthrock on the left, Albert in the middle, De La Vega on the right, and Ferreira up top.
I like it. I think that's a strong 11. That's definitely an 11 that can reasonably be expected to compete for a result and a win in this game, even against a San Diego team that is flying high right now. Nico, let's jump around the league a little bit. We just talked about the Vancouver game, but I mean, yeah, that was just another fantastic performance from them. Like you said, they went down 2-0, 10 minutes or whatever into the game, and it's just they're just never out of it. Like, even when they're losing, you still feel like they're going to win. Like, that's what it, I don't know. It's crazy. It's just what it feels like right now. And they got the CCC final coming up, and I continue to think that they have a great chance. I mean, do you have any other takes on the Caps or CCC at all?
I think that they're going to win. And I've said this, they are heavy favorite when it comes to the odds. Cruz Azul is the heavy favorites, and therefore Whitecaps are the heavy underdogs here. But just looking back at what I've seen from both teams, there's a huge, I don't know if misconception because of, I guess, the history of what the Vancouver Whitecaps have done, which I guess is fair compared to Cruz Azul. But to me, this is set up perfectly for them to just put it on Cruz Azul and play with a chip on their shoulders, put all the pressure on Cruz Azul. They're playing at home. They're the team that everybody expects them to win. It just has Sorensen ball written all over it, where they're going to come in, and just like they did Miami, surprise them and take it to them. And then when it's all said and done, play real humble, and it's another day. It's another win. I mean, they are that sort of team where they're professional. They know what they're about. They don't care what the opposition says. They don't care about the noise around. They're just the Caps, baby, and they just win.
If I'm looking at it just purely from a quality of the team and quality of the footy perspective, I think Vancouver is like clearly a better team. Even if they lose this game, like I don't think I would see that differently. I think there's like a lot of times in a game like this, the quality is sort of like a 50-50 toss. I think in this situation, it's pretty clear that the team that has better personnel and is playing better soccer right now is the Caps, which is just, I mean, it's still just a crazy story. Like, if you told me before the season that they were going to be a lot better than people expected, I'd be like, okay, I mean, they have a pretty good roster, and maybe the Sorensen guy is a good coach. But I mean, I just could not have fathomed them being one of the best MLS teams I've ever seen. And that is exactly what they are. Nico, the Inter Miami was playing the Philly Union at Subaru Park, and it looked like they were headed for another kind of embarrassing loss, to be honest. And then Messi went Messi. He hits an insane free kick in the 87th minute to salvage them a 3-3 draw, which I believe they came back from 3-1. So they got a better result than it looked like they were going to get. And I think it's encouraging for them to see Messi have one of those Messi moments. There's kind of nothing like it when it's late in the game like that with a 1-goal margin, or if it's tied or whatever, and he's standing over the free kick and you're just like, he's probably going to make it. And then he usually does. That will never cease to be massively impressive to me, just how he's able to do that, like as consistently as he is. I mean, we saw it when he first got to MLS when he was playing Cruz Azul in Leagues Cup, and he hit that. It was like one of the first free kicks he ever took as an MLS player, and he just bammed it. So I guess that was good to see for them. But I think you could also look at it like, I mean, they were pretty close to getting run off the field again before they brought it back. What did you think of that Philly-Miami game?
I think that the same mistakes still stand for that team. And although it might be a moral victory that you force your way back into this game, Philly should have ended before that second goal for Miami. It should have been 4-1, if not 5-1. I think that Baribo got in a bunch of positions. Their rest defense was atrocious. I'm talking about Inter Miami. I think that in the midfield, they got outballed by Philadelphia. And yes, the goal by Messi ignites and kind of gives you this inertia that essentially ends in a Segovia fantastic goal for the equalizer, but that does not take away for how poorly they played overall. I thought that Philadelphia dominated the game. They controlled the tempo of the game. And if not because they weren't clinical, they should have won this game.
Yeah, I agree. It was a good comeback for Inter Miami for sure. But given how their form has been lately, they need to string some wins and just better performances together. Like I think that was a case of a result that did not necessarily match up with the performance and who was the better team, which is a continuation of what we've been seeing from Inter Miami.
No, and people were talking about, oh, they're possessing the ball, they're doing this, but their possession on the ball was inefficient. They were just kind of passing the ball back. They weren't really getting chances, not until the end of the game. On the other side, Philadelphia was playing their game, their style, what they wanted to play. Cornell was getting everything he wanted out of his team, and with a lot less possession, they were a lot more dangerous throughout the game. So, to me, is once again a Miami team that should know what is in front of them, should know what Philadelphia does well, what they don't do well, and they're unable to execute it on the field. And you get the magical Messi, and you kind of live off of that. But that dependency of those moments is why this team is where they are right now.
Nico, it looks like the next coach that is on the hottest, the coach that's on the hottest of seats in MLS right now would be Olaf Melberg. I think that's his last name. Olaf in St. Louis is on the hottest of seats in MLS. They lose again 1-0 at Colorado. And I'm honestly, frankly surprised that the change hasn't been made already. I mean, just because I was seeing some media reports that that change was coming, and I think it still is. Have you been tracking the sort of downfall of St. Louis this season that much? And I mean, I don't know how many days left as the St. Louis coach do you think Olaf has
got? He might get the rest of the season just because I'm not sure if the front office that decided that it was a great idea to let go of a Cornell that had this team moving forward, that put him at the top of the West at one point, and then you decide to go for kind of an unknown of some sort and a guy that was going to come in, play very defensively. Now you're going to just boot him and just kind of accept that you were dead wrong. St. Louis is, I'm not saying this as a disrespect, but they're not the highest market team in terms of like the expectations. They're more of a newer team. So to me, they're just going to kind of let it ride. But soccer's been uninspiring. He's been unable to use Sean Silva. He's been unable to use and continue to develop a guy like Pompeo. Tosher, he has a breakaway where he should have been able to think how he was going to finish in 5-6 different ways, and does the worst thing possible, holds it too long, puts it right at the keeper. This team is just imploding, and although Malberg's inability to motivate is there, as long as they continue to be competitive, sadly, I think that he'll keep his job.
See, I don't know if I would be surprised if they ride it out for the season, if it stays relatively close to how it's been going lately. It's a tough watch right now.
It is.
We saw it in the Seattle game, but like the thing about the negative tactics is you can get away with it if you are staying competitive and you're at least taking some results. So if they get it to the point where it maybe still doesn't look super great, but they're taking more points than they are, then yeah, maybe they ride it out. But right now they're in a situation where they're employing negative tactics every week and then still losing games, and then still losing games where they're giving up. Like if this one was only 1-0, that was a more St. Louis type of game. But like the Seattle game, they gave up 4 goals while trying to employ negative tactics. You can't live like that. Like you just
no, they got smoked by Minnesota. I mean, it was a 3-0 beatdown. It could have been more. But again, it's just a team that doesn't create enough opportunities and doesn't play enough good defense to balance that out, or to say, well, they don't go offensively a lot, but they're great defensively. That is not the case.
Yeah, exactly. What did you make of LAFC drawing 2-2 at CF Montreal? I'm kind of two minds on it, because on one hand, like, I get that CF Montreal is one of they're arguably the worst team in the league right now, other than the Galaxy. So you could look at it and be like, oh, what a terrible joke of a result for LAFC. I don't like, no matter how bad a team is, like, those road trips where you're traveling that much and then, you're going to Montreal, those are not like easy games to win as a West Coast team, regardless of how good or bad the team might be. So I think from that perspective, it's honestly not like the worst result of all time for LAFC, but it is still, they were down 2-0. They came out in that game so flat, like a little disturbingly flat for a game where you have the opponent way overmatched on talent, even with that road trip. So I kind of don't know what to think of it on its own. But I think when it's funny because LAFC and Seattle right now have the same record, exact same record, same point totals, same everything. And it feels like their season, both among their fan base and nationally, is getting talked about as like more of a disappointment than Seattle or Portland, who also is right there with almost the exact same record, where I think Portland and Seattle nationally, and at least, for me, their seasons have had blips. Like with Seattle, you point to the San Diego game and the LAFC away game, and you say, all right, like they had a couple that were bad and got away from them, but on the whole, their season's getting talked about as going decently well, I think. But LAFC isn't. Like, why do you think that is?
Just the expectation is the bar that you set, and it is a team that is expected to just dominate completely. And I think that there's a lot of part of the discourse here in Seattle that's still not happy, even, and as me and you both know.
Yeah.
And it's just the bar that you set. LAFC set that extremely high with the championships, with the type of players they've been able to bring in for their team, and that's just the expectation. And although I will honestly say that Montreal is probably the team that I watched the least in MLS this season. I thought they played a very good game. I can't compare it to many others that I've watched them play. I think Prince was very good, and they were in front, and they put LAFC on their heels, where I feel like LAFC's midfield is very vulnerable. And although Igor de Jesus has done a very good job of solidifying that along with Delgado, I still just see a team that has a hard time game managing, whether they're down or they're up, being able to get back in the game or hold the lead. And LAFC just doesn't have the level of talent that they've had in the past. And that's why you hear a lot of those, the discourse of just people that are unhappy with the way they're playing, and they're not destroying teams. And honestly, they haven't been as entertaining as they used to be.
Yeah.
And both you and I know this. And I also think that there's a little bit of a dark cloud called Cherundolo's on his way out. So it's kind of like, what is it with this guy? That, I mean, is he full in? Is he not full in? All those are question marks that kind of were added and inflicted wounds by Cherundolo and LAFC within themselves.
They did get the elusive Olivier Giroud goal, so
they did. It was kind of a very lucky bounce, but yeah, he got it.
A goal's a goal for him at that point. Nico, I think we can start to wrap it up here. Was there any other results? I guess real quick, we could. I watched the Atlanta United Cincinnati Sunday night soccer game last night with Noah and Colton, and I'm on perpetual Atlanta United downfall watch. They do get a big win over FC Cincinnati, their first win in like 8 games or something like that. So they're off the schneid. They ended that streak. They got the win. They banged in 4 goals. I don't know how much of that game you caught. It wasn't the most convincing 4-2 I've ever seen. FC, like, they were still doing the thing where when they score a goal, they sit back and like just let the other team get on top of them, and they let it go from 2-0 to 2-1, and then 3-1 to 3-2, conceding both of those goals like in the very near aftermath when they scored. So I mean, look, I'm not going to take away from the fact that they got a big win and they scored 4 goals, but I don't know. I didn't come out of it like convinced of a turnaround based on like the game state and how they were shipping goals right after they scored. Did you catch much of that game?
Yeah, I cut the whole game. It was a step in the right direction. And this is why I say that. It was the best half, 45 minutes that I've seen out of Atlanta United probably the entire season. I went back and I looked at some of the games they've had this season where, I'm thinking that they're going to get ahead and they're playing well. And I came to the conclusion that it is the best half that I've seen from them. They were up 2-0. They were handling the ball. They should have had 3, one by Almiron. And then in the second half, a couple of big misses from Lafayette. But it still felt at halftime, 2-0 lead by Atlanta United, like you were just waiting for things to go wrong.
Exactly.
And the fact that in the 48th, right after you start off the second half, that goal comes in, you immediately were like, oh, here it goes. Here it comes. The mistakes started happening. They have a hard time holding the ball, possession. But lucky for them, man. I thought that Fortune had a fantastic game.
Yep.
I think that it was one of the better Sliss games that we've seen. I'm not huge on them. Not necessarily my favorite player, but he still wasn't good enough. I mean, there were mistakes. Miles Robinson scoring on his old team was kind of fun. There were things in the second half that were exciting, but in terms of what I want to see out of Atlanta United, a lot of question marks still lie. Defensively, I thought that they were put in binds consistently. I thought that Guzan had to get him out of a lot of troubles. I think he had 7 or 8 saves across the 90 minutes. The biggest problem for Atlanta is not up top, is in the back. And there needs to be something done for it because Ronnie's not going to be able to live up many of these games. And sure, Cincinnati is a fantastic win. You were able to get the win. And a guy like Denke, that although he's Cincinnati's top scorer, he still misses a lot of goals. And therefore, it makes me think that if Atlanta United goes against a more clinical offensive player, then they're going to be in trouble. So it's a step in the right direction. Nobody should be throwing up parades over this scoreline, but at least you see some sort of life from a team that seemed to be deadlined.
I thought it was funny that Apple TV picked Brad Guzan as their man of the match for that game because I thought he was actually pretty bad. He made 7 saves, and a couple of them were good saves, but especially on Cincy's second goal, he I think he didn't know which way to dive. Maybe the sight was blocked, so he just kind of like tipped over. I don't know. He's not having a very good season, and I didn't think he had that good a game. Marinchuk had 2 assists. Like I thought that was an easy pick. I don't know what we're doing there. Like they just looked at the stat sheet and saw 7 saves and were like, there it is. One of those was a good save, man of the match. I don't know.
No, Marinchuk's connectivity and just not just the assist, but his overall link-up play was very good in this, and probably the best I've seen from him in a long time since his first season with Atlanta.
Why did Chris Henderson leave Miami again? I think it was, as far as I know, it was just because
he saw the train wreck coming.
Yeah.
Believe you me, he's in a much better position, better pay, more respected.
Working with North again,
in a situation that eventually will be a lot better. Inter Miami right now is better in the standings. Doesn't mean they're better as an organization.
Yeah, no. That was interesting because it's like, oh, why would you leave Messi and the Barca boys? You got a good thing going there. But then when we see how their season has started to go this year, I mean, I almost wonder, we were like, Noah and I were questioning some of the stuff they were doing over the offseason as far as the dispute that Messi got in with the sporting director. They install his academy, like mentor godfather as their sporting director, which out of all the Inter Miami talk that we've had of them kind of taking a downturn in recent weeks, I feel like that aspect of it hasn't gotten talked about enough. They have a guy as their sporting director now who has absolutely no experience in MLS at all. his connection is that he mentored Messi at the Barca academy when he was a kid, and they've just been like best friends his whole life. That was his qualification for that job. So, I mean, I don't know if we can gauge how exactly that's worked out so far, but doesn't appear to be all that well. And then even the Mascherano thing, I don't know. Maybe Chris Henderson saw all this stuff happening and he was like, I don't think this is going to work. So that maybe that played into it. I don't know.
And honestly, he got no respect. Chris Henderson will never say it because he's a gentleman, but he got no respect down there.
Damn. All right, Nico, I think we can wrap it up right there. Thank you all, as always, for tuning in to Lobbing Scorchers Kickoff. Please, if you haven't already, like the video. God, I got to remember to say this earlier. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you haven't subbed to the channel, I have no idea what you're doing. Subscribe to Sounder at Heart. Like, comments, rate 5 stars. Tell all your friends. Tell all your family. We will I'll see what's going on with the pod schedule. It might be a little different this week with the midweek game. Wouldn't have a lot of shelf for the normal dub pod, but I'll talk to Noah about that. Follow me on Blue Sky if you haven't, and I'll keep you updated. Nico, before we get out of here, anything that you have that you wanted to promote or plug for Pulso or Sounder at Heart or anything else?
One last thing about the week, I'd really appreciate it. Gary Kindes ceremonies that they did in Sporting Kansas City. Obviously, a player that got taken away far too young. I thought it was fantastic that the players and the game in general was so good as well. You know, that we're able to do the 3-3 against New England that was kind of boosted by that motivation there. And I thought it was unreal. In terms of plug anything, I'm hoping to do maybe something on Wednesday, maybe pre-game show or something like that. I'm not sure. It's an early game, so we might do something like that. Obviously, on Friday, we're going to have What We Learned This Week with Jeremiah Oshan. We should be fun because we have a game to talk about, actually. We don't always have that opportunity to do so. And then, of course, on Monday, Lobbing Scorchers. Oh, and Thursdays, Soccer Down Here from 7:30 to 8:15 on SDH.
Scott, thank you for sending us off with the $2 super chat. Appreciate you. Appreciate everyone for the support and tuning in. And we'll see you later this week. We out.
Yo.
Don't want to give money to the oligarchs, but love Lobbing Scorchers? Do we have a deal for you? MLS Season Pass is back on Apple TV with access to every single MLS match, including Leagues Cup and the entire Audi MLS Cup playoffs with no blackouts. It's not just the games. You get total access to the pre- and post-match MLS 360 whip-around show in both English and Spanish, and get live look-ins and highlights from around the league, as well as full match replays and recaps. Now, you can support our show by visiting lobbingscorchers.com/Apple TV to purchase your subscription and support our show.
Lobbingscorchers.com/Apple TV. Please, don't let the oligarchs win.